fermentation is essentially what ensures the survival of humanity. It's just nature finding a way. If we had no understanding of science, we would think it was truly like magic.
Take a winding road from Austin, Texas down to Dripping Springs, and you'll find yourself at Jester King, a farmhouse brewery dedicated to healthy land, happy people, and good beer.
What we aspire here to do is make beer that's going to be very unique to our land, unique to the season that we're making it, and then unique to the people who are brewing here. It's something that is going to be authentically a true like Texas Hill Country beer. Picture yourself making beer, somewhere within the last 20,000 years, which scientists think that's about how old beer is. What would you have around you? Yeah, you might have some access to some grains or some fruits or some herbs or some spices, but how would you actually turn that into beer through fermentation? And there's this wild yeast everywhere around us. It helps support life on Earth. It's located practically on every inch of the globe. And so humans figured out somewhere down the line that if we take unfermented beer and just expose it to the elements, it will start to ferment. What we've done here at Jester King is we've harvested yeast straight from the land and from the air. We use this vessel called a cool ship, which captures the yeast right out of the night air. And from the land, we created a mixed culture, not a monoculture, but just a mix of like dozens, if not hundreds of different types of yeast and bacteria that came off of like wildflowers and grapevines and just flora and fauna around the brewery.
The microflora is the native flora of the property, so we don't do anything for that. That's
air?
Here, it's present. Yeah, it's living, it's alive. So all we're doing is trying to capture it, and we do that just by opening the windows and letting what blows in do its job.
And that really steers the beer in very interesting ways because it is alive. It is a living thing that from month to month is going to continuously change, and that's another kind of fun part of the creative process is that we know we're shooting for a moving target.
When Jeff and his brother Michael decided to leave their careers as lawyers and bankers to start their own brewery, they had a penchant for adventure with no real plan.
As far as like finding an actual ranch to build a farm brewery and being on the outskirts of Austin and then eventually seeing it over the last 12 years morph into a restaurant, a farm, an inn, an event hall. We didn't see any of that coming. We just knew we wanted to make good beer and that was it. We ended up being the 11th brewery in modern history to open in Texas. Despite we're only like just over a decade old, we're actually truly one of the old breweries in Texas.
We are on 165 acres. Most of that property was purchased for conservation effort.
Okay.
So had we not purchased it, it would have been converted into like a lot of residential neighborhoods and our Texas Hill Country would have just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller.
Our plan over time is to slowly restore native prairie lands, to bring back the natural springs on the land.
Goats play the biggest part of that.
Yeah, so this is our herd. What you're seeing in front of you is like 68, including our babies, Nigerian dwarf goats.
In the poor soil that we have, they're able to target a lot of the native varieties that aren't helping us really collect water. They're the varieties that are growing in the poor soil. And so the goats are able to eat those simple carbohydrates. And then while they're doing that, they're able to aerate the soil and then deposit nutrients back into it, building up the soil over time.
Jester King runs on goats?
That's right.
So you know all of their names?
Yes, they all have names. They all have amazing personalities. Every day we come in, take care of them.
So they're just eating pretty much all morning?
Pretty much, yeah. They actually are constantly chewing for about 20 hours a day.
Whoa, that sounds exhausting, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, so why goats?
They are amazing for remediating the land, kind of your second best to bison. Topsoil is kind of like your biggest part to all life on Earth. So we want to be able to grow our topsoil. It's down to about 6 centimeters. We should have about 6 feet. The biggest ask that we have of them is really just simply put, pooping on our property and putting that biomass back into the ground. Each goat here can deposit about 5 pounds of organic material back into the earth every day. So it's gonna help us retain water, it's gonna help us sequester carbon, it's gonna build our topsoil. We also will muck the barn regularly and use their hay and their manure as compost for our garden. Cool. So we do try to do everything as full circle as possible.
Full circle includes making sure their energy is renewable.
We were able to qualify for a grant to do solar power, and so we jumped on that.
Powered by the sun. They're also looking at another resource.
Texas growing with the way it is, population-wise, and also getting only like 40 inches of rain on average per year. Water sustainability is, I think, going to be a huge long-term challenge for this region.
But Jester King's way of letting nature lead their brewing is helping them lead in sustainability too.
Our ratio is like 2 barrels of water going into every 1 barrel of beer, which the industry average, last I looked, was like 7-to-1.
Water in is water out, so they built their own wastewater treatment facility.
Instead of pulling from the aquifer to irrigate our crops, we can just treat our own wastewater and then the land apply it.
And that gives them even more room to grow.
So I have a couple of garden spaces, and right now I am just experimenting with different varieties that are going to work for us here in our climate based off of the needs of the kitchen.
I really just see brewing as an extension of cooking. We use a lot of adjunct ingredients, various fruits, herbs, spices. We work with Texas grain, Texas farmers as far as fruits and vegetables, even Texas farmers as far as hops, which is very just kind of micro industry, nascent industry here in the Texas High Plains.
In 2019, Jester King was nominated for the prestigious James Beard Award, an honor given to the top culinary players across America.
It was a total out of the blue surprise. I just got like a text from a friend like, hey, saw you're nominated for a Beard Award. And so that was cool. We're a brewery, thankfully, that doesn't have like a core lineup. It's constantly changing. We put out somewhere between like 85 to like 120 different beers every year, largely just based on the season. The hallmark of what we do, and I would say what Farmhouse Ale is it's a beer that has a little bit of like a wild edge to it. Farmhouse ales historically were really outdoor working beers. Like people would drink something that was low ABV and refreshing enough to still continue on with literally farming. It's called Colonel Toby. It's a table beer. It was a collaboration with the Colonel Brewery in London, England. We do a lot of collaboration. 100% well water, grain that was grown in the Texas Panhandle, and then native fermentation with indigenous yeast from our land. This is a hoppy farmhouse.
Hoppy Farmhouse. I can get with that.
We have just as much camaraderie and philosophical connection with winemakers as we do brewers.
Yeah, we've got about 3 acres of grapes, about 4 different varieties. It's completely dry farmed, so it's not irrigated, it's not fertilized, so all the plants that are there, and they're about 3 years old at this point, are all completely established to the property.
Centuries ago, there wasn't like a rigid definition between beer and wine. In this case, we took beer that was aged in oak for an average age of about 12 months, and then we re-fermented it with Texas Hill Country peaches. This was bottled in, looks like August of last year. So it's got a little time on it, so it's gonna be like very tart, dry, very wine-like.
I'm having a moment with this one. I've never had anything like this. It's so good.
It's one of my favorites.
It's like the thing that you love about peach cobbler and peach crisp and like the perfect ripe peach, the first one you have from the season, and then wine, and then beer. Do you ever like take that and take the 2020 version of that and kind of taste them side by side to taste the difference of the peaches?
Absolutely. And it will be different, like from vintage to vintage.
Yeah, so cool. It's a moment in time.
Speaking of a moment in time, this beer really exemplifies that. This is a beer where we don't even add yeast. We just expose it to nature. Every single batch is a product of just one place and one time, never to be recreated again.
You never live the same day more than once. Cheers.
Cheers. So this beer starts out by spending overnight in the cool ship where the boiling hot wort chills down. We open the windows, air starts rushing into the room, and just wild yeast just wafts into the room and lands in the cool ship. We use exclusively aged hops. So we take hops that are bright and green and floral, and we put them into burlap bags and put them into the attic of a horse barn here. And over the course of a couple years, they get like dried and wilted. They go into the beer both as a flavoring, but also as a way to kind of protect the beer as it goes through a very, very long fermentation journey, again, which is yeast from the air. Some of the lambic that makes it stateside has been either pasteurized or back sweetened to make it a little more sweet, and that's cool. But we've been inspired more by full fermentation, full attenuation, letting the beer totally dry out and giving it time for just yeast complexity to develop. This is taking that base spawn, which is old and kind of that rustic coolship beer, and applying fresh fruit to it. In this case, raspberries and cherries. So yeah, you were talking about that Belgian tradition of adding fruit to beer and kind of marrying beer and wine together. This is precisely what that is. But I always encourage people, like, pour it, take an initial sip, and then let it kind of warm up to experience it like, cold temperature, cellar temperature, and then almost like room temperature, because you're gonna get like 3 different experiences that way.
I can do that. I can walk around this farm all day long.
Yes.
Drinking the beer. Cheers.
It's gotten really busy. You just opened today, and there are people already wandering all over the property. You just let these people go rogue with their beer?
They've got pretty much free range.
So special.
Come explore.
It feels like we are so far out here.
Yeah, a big part of our program was to preserve the land. Sustainability means putting back into the earth more than what we're taking from it. For me, it starts with the kids. Kids seeing the goats for the first time, I see as an opportunity to teach the children about farming and agriculture. Getting to come and experience the baby goats, hear the birds, and see all the flowers, hopefully to create some core memories for them, to understand why it's important to try to conserve the land.
Yes, and the adult kids too.
Yeah, the adult kids definitely have a lot of fun as well.
Goat behavior is wild. It is absolutely wild. At first, I was just like, I want to learn more about goats. They're so cute. They're so fun. It's at a brewery. I love beer, I knew nothing about what they could do for land. And like our earth is, it's struggling right now. So these guys can actually help us reverse a lot of like the negative impact.
Are we rolling audio? I have nothing to say. I am so blissed out. If everyone could hold a goat, the world would be so much happier. You guys, everyone ought to hold a goat.
Oh, I want to wander back. Oh, I want to wander back to the cabin on the hill. To the cabin on the hill. Beneath the shadow of the tree. Beneath the shadow of the tree. I would like to linger still.